Hey, this is Sebastian from the Metal Gods Meltdown, and today I'm joined by
Harry Hess from Harem, Scarem, First Signal, few other things, mainly Harem, Scarem.
Great to be chatting to you today. Your album, Line of Fire, with First Signal has been released today. How pleased are you so far with responses from fans and media?
It's been good, I think people expect a certain thing at this point. I've been putting out records for a long, long time, and we just try and keep the song quality as high as possible, so we're pretty choosy about what ends up going on the record. And usually, the gang involved, we're working hard on these things all the time, so the end result usually turns out pretty good, and everybody seems to be pleased with it once again.
That's great to hear. Which two tracks from the new album would you play me if I was totally new to First Signal?
I think Line of Fire, actually, and also Born to Be a Rebel is pretty cool. There's a bunch of songs that I really like on it. Again, we didn't pick anything that we weren't proud of, but I think something that is, showcases a record and what the project's about, anything like those two songs kind of sum it up.
Would you say you've always been born to be a rebel?
Not at all. I'm the most boring musician guy on the planet, and that's why I can keep working, because I kind of stay out of trouble, and the older I get, the more boring I become. So I don't indulge anymore. Like in my teens and early 20s, that was a different story, but I just turned 50. I'll be 51 this year, so yeah, the exciting days are over, and now I'm just working, but there's a lot of output because of it, so there's a plus to it.
There was no one to blame, just a girl hanging on the edge of life and far too tough to tame.
Are there plans to take First Signal out on tour?
It's been brought up a few times, like, getting together a band for, festivals or doing like kind of one-off dates and stuff like that. But at the moment, there's nothing concrete. Like I always say, I'm always up for, doing anything. And so I'll leave it out there as an open invitation if anyone's listening that wants to have us at their venue or festival or something like that. That would be cool.
The album cover is really awesome as well. Do you have much involvement with that, with the design?
None. I can't take any credit for it, although I like it a lot. There was a few other things floating around before it, so we kind of just, have veto power over, things that we don't like. But, the minute you see something that is visually striking and seems to fit the vibe of what the record is and the songs, it seemed to make a lot of sense. So we all kind of gave it the thumbs up right away when we saw this one.
See, you're a very busy man. You're a producer as well, and with Harem, Scarem and First Signal. What other projects are you involved in, and do you ever stop?
No, I mean, it's something I do every day. Like, there's really no time frame for me, when I'm thinking of working on something. Like, I don't stop at 5 o'clock because it's 5 o'clock, or weekends or holidays. I'm even pretty pathetic that I don't even know when the holidays are coming, and just like bank holidays and stuff, like not the obvious ones. I have no idea. So that's a little bit strange, but I'm always working on something because these days I'm doing a lot of mastering, so they're typically like one-day projects, and I end up doing so many of them because it's a kind of a quick turnaround. So I'll be doing a lot of singles, EPs, and things of that nature. So I get to do a lot of different projects that way.
Gene Simmons said that rock music is dead. What do you think to that statement?
Well, you know what? It was definitely in a lull for a long, long time, but I think, everything goes around in cycles, and I feel right now that people are pretty bored of the other thing that's been going on, whether, it's rap or pop. Like, there's a lot of the same stuff happening, which was kind of like what happened to rock, in the 90s or late 80s, because you just keep repeating something over and over again, and typically people are going to rebel and get bored and do the polar opposite of it. And I'm hearing stuff now, like on Spotify, that the fastest growing streaming demographic is metal and rock, which, I guess it's all relative to where it came from or where it was to how fast it's growing. But at the same time, a lot of encouraging, signs that people are kind of getting into rock again. Greta Van Fleet, whether you like them or hate them, they're kind of putting rock back on the map again, or at least people are talking about it or thinking about it. If you check out YouTube, there's lots of people playing guitar, lots of people, recording stuff. So, the industry's tough, but at the same time, things are just changing. It's a different landscape, and if you work really hard and you're good at what you do, 9 times out of 10 something will happen, that'll get you out there. So we're seeing that a lot. I'm involved with a label as well, and we work with a band from Australia called the Lazies, and it's another rock band that's out there, and they're doing really well right now. So we see lots of signs of encouragement, but it's kind of our little world, the rock thing. So we're well aware of what's happening in it.
And of course, Harem, Scarem, are there plans to record another album or any work going on with that part of your life?
Yeah, we just put out a box set and a couple vinyl things, and we started working on songs in the new year, and that's kind of what I'm doing right now, is working on Harem, Scarem songs, and we hope to have it finished by the end of the year. I don't know about a release date at this point, but we're aiming to have the recording finished by the end of the year.
So, of course, you started back in the 80s and 90s with Harem, Scarem. Are you glad you started back then rather than now?
You know what I am, as far as, where I'm at in my life and what I learned through that time. So I wouldn't trade that for anything. But of course, if you could go back, you could do it differently or do it better. But you know what? It's all a learning experience, and I value what I learned at the time. And the industry, although it was starting to kind of, go downhill, specifically for the style of rock we were doing, it really taught me so many things. Like I couldn't rely on $1 million recording budgets. In the beginning, we were making records for like $120,000, which in today's market would be one of the biggest budgets you can imagine. But back then, that was the smallest budget that I'd ever heard of for a band making a record on a major label. So we always kind of started as underdogs and had a kind of do-it-yourself approach to making records and writing songs. So I don't know how different it would have been, but if you're specifically talking about time frame, I think we would have done a lot better if our first record would have come out 3 to 5 years earlier. Mood Swings would have came out, at the end of the 80s. I mean, I think we would have done really well internationally and sold millions and millions of records, as opposed to, grunge being prevalent when our first record came out. Like it literally, within months, Nirvana came out and it was kind of all over for that kind of music. So we definitely struggled to find an audience or people that were still into that kind of music. And now we just have like an underground fan base of people that are into it, and that's all good. So we've had a lot of fans that been with us for the journey for 25, 30 years, and that's who we're making records for still these days.
And of course, go back to First Signal, it's sort of like heartening to know that the music is still relevant, isn't it? And that people still want to listen to like sort of adult orientated rock, isn't it? More melodic rock.
Yeah, I mean, I think, if you kind of grew up, or it was at a time in your life when, they were formative years for a lot of people around my age and even older, that I don't think that ever goes away, that you like that style of music. So I think it's just a matter of bringing it to people and keeping the quality up. And if you do that, I think the results are typically pretty good. So again, like we just try and make sure that the songs are great and you put it out there, and typically good things can happen.
Of course, you will have had many outstanding moments in your career, but which one springs to mind straight away today?
You know what? The first time we went to Japan, the first time we played in Japan, we only did 3 dates, like Osaka, Nagoya, and Tokyo, but they were sold out shows, and it kind of still stands out as a pretty shocking moment for us because, a bunch of Canadian guys heading across the world and showing up in a country where they don't even speak English, but to see people singing along to the songs that, and like I said, they were sold out shows. So yeah, that was a pretty amazing time in our lives. And we've done some really cool things. And, whenever you get news that, a song is doing well at radio or you've sold a bunch of records, those kind of spring to mind as moments that were really cool. And also showing up in countries where you've never been to before. Like last year, we went to the Philippines for the first time ever in our lives. And we had a gold record there on our first release. So we'd been making records for basically 30 years, had a gold record on our first record, and never made it out to the Philippines. So going to countries we've never been to before, especially ones like that, is pretty amazing as well.
Can you tell me why we should buy Line of Fire?
Because Frontiers Records really, really needs the money. Well, you know what? If like I said before, if you're into this kind of music and it's a style that you've kind of grown up listening to, I don't think you'll be disappointed. I think, like I said, people have learned to expect a certain, style of music and level of, competence when it comes to making these types of records. And although they're kind of put together as projects, we don't treat them any differently. You don't get up behind the mic and go, wow, it's just this. Like, I mean, you can tell when you're listening, like I put all my effort into singing these songs and took a lot of time, and Daniel Flores did as well, producing it and recording it. So, it's just a solid effort in my opinion. So if you're into this kind of music, I don't think you'll be disappointed. So That's my pitch.
Excellent. If you were stuck on a desert island for a year, which 4 famous people would you take with you and why?
Do I have to eat one of them at some point?
Maybe.
Okay. So I want someone a little bit chubby, maybe.
Yeah.
Famous people. Wow, that's a interesting question. Yeah, I mean, we'd put a band together, I guess. So you want a drummer, you want a bass player, and a guitar player. I guess they'd let me sing. I would pick a couple Beatles. I would pick maybe Eddie Van Halen, and who else? I love Glenn Hughes. Let's have Glenn Hughes there too. I hear he's an interesting guy.
Right. What one possession could you not live without right now?
It seems that I'm, constantly using this fucking computer, so I'm gonna have to go with the computer. I'm making records on it. I'm talking to people around the world. Everything in my life is on this bloody computer, so it's a very shallow and honest answer.
Cool. What would you like Harry Hess to be remembered for in 100 years' time?
Wow. I think like anybody making records, it's just that somebody somewhere listens back and goes, wow, this stuff was pretty good, or he was pretty good at this. That's kind of really it. I don't think we've reinvented the wheel in any way, shape, or form. It's not going to be something that is on the forefront of new horizons musically. But at the end of the day, I just want to do a great, competent job at what I'm attempting to do, and I'm happy with that. If that's the legacy, that people listen to it and go, hey, this was pretty good stuff.
Festival or small intimate gig?
Festival.
Vinyl or digital?
That's a complicated question. I'm gonna go vinyl. Just feeling vinyl-y these days.
Cool. Beer or maple syrup?
Oh, I'm gonna go maple syrup.
Moose or bear?
Moose or bear? I'm gonna go bear.
Yeah. Kermit the Frog or Donald Trump?
They're not that dissimilar. I'm not a Donald Trump fan, so I'm just gonna go with the frog.
Cool. Okay, do you have any final words for your fans and our listeners?
I'd just like to thank everybody, for sticking with me/us for all these years. It is very, very much appreciated. Anybody that goes out, spends their hard-earned money on a CD, a ticket, a download, shows up at the shows, anything like that. It's still a thrill after all these years, and I'm honored to still be making records and happy to be doing so. So, as usual, thanks to the fans. Hey, it's Harry Hess from Harem, Scarem, and you're listening to the Metal Gods Meltdown.